Hey there. I'm genuinely thankful you're here right now watching this. If you decide to subscribe to the channel, I can't tell you how much that would mean. It would truly be everything. Now, let's begin. There was a time when their house felt like a sanctuary, a space wrapped in warmth and memory. A porch swing used to drift lazily in the breeze. The refrigerator was a canvas of crayon drawings and magnets, and laughter had once echoed through the rooms like a favorite song. But that feeling had slipped away. The house still looked perfect, like a model home, but it had lost its soul. Roman Whitaker, once a man with direction and conviction, now wandered through the days as though he were only half alive, trapped in habits, surrounded by quiet meals and silences that felt too heavy to bear. His wife, Natalie, hadn't turned cold or cruel. She had simply become absent, still physically present, but emotionally distant, as though her spirit had quietly walked out the door. Things weren't always like this. 10 years earlier, they were inseparable, two people who breathed in sync, who clung to each other like they shared one heart. She used to wear his flannel shirts like armor, and he could recite the way she took her coffee down to the smallest detail. Even 5 years back, when they were drowning in bills and sleepless nights with twin babies, they still reached for one another under the dinner table, whispering dreams of the life they were building. Now that table sat untouched beneath unopened mail and forgotten appointments. She no longer smiled at his jokes. When he tried to meet her eyes, she looked away, as if she was afraid of what he might see. One morning, while their children still slept upstairs, he watched her sip her coffee slowly. Her voice was level, almost too calm. "We need to talk to someone. A professional." Roman stared at her, stunned. "I thought we were talking." She gave a quiet shake of her head. "Not the way we used to." Their first session with the therapist felt like stepping barefoot over shattered glass. It was brutal, uneasy. Dr. Elliot Monroe had the kind of calm demeanor you might expect from someone who spent weekends playing chess and listening to jazz. His voice was soft, his questions deliberate. Roman did his best to answer. Natalie mostly sat in silence, until eventually, through tears, she said something that split him down the middle. "I don't feel in love anymore." The pain hit deeper than any professional failure ever had. Roman threw himself into the fight. He passed up promotions, made breakfast every Saturday, learned to braid their daughter's hair. But no matter how hard he tried, love, the living, breathing kind, never came back. Week after week, he bared his heart in Monroe's office, convinced they were clawing their way back. Then the rhythm changed. One night, Natalie spoke with a firmness he didn't expect. "I want to keep seeing Dr. Monroe? Just me?" Roman stared at her, speechless. "Why?" She sighed. "I need time, space to figure things out." He didn't protest. At first, but the appointments multiplied. One became 2, then 3. She started coming home later, quieter, like some piece of her had been left behind each time. One evening, he cooked her favorite dinner, lemon chicken with wild rice. She gave a small, polite smile and ate in silence. Afterward, he reached for her hand. She pulled away gently. "I'm really tired," she whispered, then slipped away to their bedroom. The click of the bathroom door locking echoed in his ears. A soft light glowed from beneath the door, her silhouette visible in the golden haze. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel, something stopped him cold. A faint bruise marked the top of her arm. Another shadowed the space just beneath her collarbone. "Natalie," he said, his voice tight with concern. "What happened?" She froze. "Oh, I hit the laundry shelf. I'm such a klutz." But she wasn't, not in the way that would cause bruises like that. Roman stayed awake all night, his mind racing. The next morning, when she mentioned another solo session, he made a choice. He called out of work and followed her. The parking lot of the Lakeside Wellness Clinic was peaceful, landscaped shrubs, sunlight bouncing off clean pavement. Roman waited a short distance away, heart hammering. Natalie arrived dressed with intentional care, sunglasses hiding her eyes, her hair styled precisely. She didn't hesitate, just walked in. Not long after, Dr. Monroe appeared, holding a coffee cup, wearing the same navy blazer he had worn while preaching about rebuilding trust. Roman watched him stroll inside without a care. That would change. Roman waited. 10 minutes passed, then 15. He stepped out of the car, blood pounding in his ears, and headed toward the entrance. He didn't storm in. He moved quietly, unnoticed. A couple chatted near the elevator, but he took the stairs. On the third floor, through the frosted glass of Monroe's office, he saw two silhouettes. The blinds hadn't been fully closed. The door hadn't latched. It was open just enough. Roman crept forward. What he saw twisted his stomach into knots. Monroe's hand reached for Natalie's cheek, fingers grazing gently. She leaned into his touch. Their lips met. Her arms slid around his neck. Roman's body locked up, breath shallow. She began to unbutton his shirt. The same hands that once gripped his in the delivery room. The same mouth that had vowed forever beneath a bright summer sky. Now touching someone else. Him. The man they'd paid to help them. Roman didn't move. Just raised his phone with shaking hands and began to record. He filmed until it was undeniable. Then he stepped back, jaw clenched, fury roaring inside him. And then he kicked the door open. The sound hit like a gunshot. Natalie shrieked, scrambling to cover herself. Monroe jumped, frozen mid-motion. "What the hell is this?" Roman's voice cut through them like a blade. Natalie stammered. "Roman, I can explain." He held up the phone. "Is this therapy now?" Monroe lifted his hands. "Let's try to stay calm." But Roman didn't wait. His fist connected with Monroe's jaw in a vicious, clean blow. The therapist fell backward, crashing into the desk. A lamp shattered. Natalie screamed. "Roman, stop! This won't help anything." He turned to her, voice raw with betrayal. "I fought for us. I carried this family while you confided in him, and now I walk in to find this? In his office? Under his degrees?" She reached out, crying. He flinched away like her touch was poison. "I never wanted to hurt you." "You didn't hurt me," he said, eyes full of fire. "You destroyed me, and believe me, neither of you is going to forget this." He stormed out, phone still recording, heart pounding. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This was war. The next morning, the house felt hollow. Roman hadn't slept. The kids were still staying with his sister, unaware of the explosion that had shattered their world overnight. That was, at least, one small grace. Natalie didn't return. Roman hadn't truly believed she would. The dining room table still bore the scars of that night, the wine-streaked tablecloth left where it had fallen, a silent testament to his failed attempt to win her back. He stood in front of it now, motionless, staring at the wax hardened beside the burned-out candle and the wine bottle still half full. His hands no longer shook. The tightness in his chest had eased. The rage that once gripped him had cooled into something sharper and steadier, resolve. He opened his laptop and dialed a number he never thought he'd have to use. His divorce attorney. "I have proof," Roman said as soon as the call connected. "Video. It's her therapist." Or it was. Within 24 hours, Roman had submitted a formal complaint to the state medical board against Dr. Elliot Monroe. The evidence he provided left little to debate. This wasn't just personal betrayal. It revealed a violation so egregious, the clinic's leadership acted immediately. Monroe's license was suspended pending investigation. Roman, meanwhile, filed for divorce. 3 days later, Natalie finally returned. She didn't knock. She let herself in with her key, as if nothing had fractured. Roman was at the counter, preparing cereal for the twins. She froze when she saw them. "Roman, please," she said softly, her voice threadbare. Can we talk?" He didn't look her way. "Not now. The kids are here." Her eyes drifted to Ava and Parker, their 6-year-old twins, absorbed in cartoons beside a bowl of apples. Her mouth trembled, but Roman didn't flinch. That night she sent a message. "I made a mistake. I never meant to hurt you. I still love you." He didn't reply. The following morning, another message. "Please, let's fix this, for them." Roman responded with a single word. "Lawyer." That was the moment everything shifted. Regret turned into blame. Her new attorneys crafted a narrative that belonged more in a drama than a courtroom. "My client endured emotional neglect," they argued. "Her behavior was a cry for help. Mr. Whitaker was absent, unreachable." But Roman had more than stories. He had undeniable evidence, texts, pictures, and a damning video. He wasn't just fighting as a betrayed spouse. He was a father safeguarding the stability his children depended on. The custody hearing was taut with grief and silence. Roman arrived in a crisp navy suit, tieless, his hair neatly combed back. Natalie wore black, the brightness she once carried noticeably dulled. When Roman took the stand, his tone was steady. "She didn't just have an affair," he said. "She tore apart the foundation our kids needed. She turned a place meant for healing into a sanctuary for deceit. And she knew it." Natalie wiped away tears with a tissue. The judge remained stoic. Roman's lawyer cued the video, Natalie, partially undressed, in the office of a man sworn to protect mental health. No amount of crying could unmake that scene. When her turn came, Natalie offered, "I never meant for this. I was alone." "Roman was always gone. I felt invisible," the judge interrupted. "Feeling neglected doesn't excuse betrayal, Mrs. Whitaker, especially when your children's welfare is at stake." The verdict came quickly. Roman was awarded full custody. Natalie was allowed supervised visitation, twice a month. No overnight stays, no exceptions. Her sobs echoed down the courthouse hallway as Roman left, his attorney giving a quiet nod. But Roman didn't feel victorious. He felt unshackled, free from dishonesty, free from the pretense, free from a marriage that had ended long before the affair began. But Roman wasn't finished. Justice served one purpose. Something deeper, retribution, had just begun. Not out of cruelty, but because they needed to understand. Natalie and Monroe. Roman started with a simple search. Elliot Monroe therapist misconduct. Days later, the headlines appeared. Renowned family therapist under investigation for client boundary violations. License under review. But Roman didn't want news coverage. He wanted accountability. He hired a private investigator. Discreet, thorough, costly. The PI combed through Monroe's past with surgical precision. What surfaced was troubling. A history of inappropriate relationships with vulnerable women. No arrests, no public records, just quiet HR warnings buried deep. But the video changed everything. The investigator reached out to 2 former patients. Both divorced, both had severed ties with Monroe without explanation. With confidentiality secured, they gave sworn statements. The medical board didn't hesitate. Monroe's license revoked. His clinic closed. Civil lawsuits began to mount. Roman, he purchased the now-defunct clinic through a shell company, solely to make a point. It was transformed into a children's literacy center. At its small, grand opening, Ava and Parker cut the ribbon. A photographer snapped a shot of Roman crouching beside them beneath a sign that read, "New Beginnings." The story spread online, heartwarming and widely shared. But the audience wasn't just the internet. It was Monroe and Natalie. She returned weeks later, standing on Roman's porch, cheeks streaked with tears. "You ruined him," she accused, bitterness laced in every word. "You've destroyed everything." Roman didn't flinch. "No," he said. "He destroyed himself. Just like you did." She stared at him, remorse clouding her expression. You were kind once, she whispered. You used to love me. He paused. Ava's laughter echoed from inside. I did love you, he said, and I was kind, until you made me feel invisible. Her voice cracked. I've lost everything. Roman nodded slowly. So did I. The difference is, only one of us deserved it. She took a step back. You're going to punish me forever? His voice remained calm. I'm not punishing you. I'm just done carrying your damage. That's yours to live with now. And then he closed the door, not out of anger, but with finality. Inside, he exhaled deeply. For the first time in months, he felt whole, not because he struck back, but because he had finally chosen himself. The seasons shifted. Leaves turned golden. Wind whispered change through quiet streets. Roman's life had been rebuilt, not in vengeance or fury, but steadily, piece by piece, as though the universe was quietly mending what had once been torn. The storm had passed. The ruins remained. But something stronger did too. Peace. And the quiet power that rises after everything falls apart. It grounded him. Each daybreak began the same. Parker would crawl into bed beside him, his breath light against Roman's skin, tiny arms fastening around his torso like a lifeline. At the kitchen table, Ava's endless stream of questions replaced what had once been an oppressive silence. Roman filled chipped mugs with juice, carved fruit into whimsical shapes, and zipped up backpacks with a quiet precision, like he was stitching together a new kind of love, one built solely on his own resolve. This kind of love didn't need declarations. It asked for nothing but presence. Since the board had handed down their decision, Roman hadn't seen Monroe once. The man had lost his license, shuttered his practice, and 3 more women had come forward. One broke down mid-testimony, voice trembling as she recalled being manipulated under the guise of therapy. Roman had sat quietly in the back, not seeking closure, but to witness justice unfold. When Monroe's eyes caught his, the man's face paled, like he was staring down the physical form of every wrong he'd tried to erase. Roman stayed still, no expression, no acknowledgement, just silence. Natalie, once polished and self-assured, now moved like a dim echo of her former self. The veneer had worn thin. She'd sold her car and moved to a small apartment across the city. She still dressed with care, armor made of old habits, but her eyes gave her away, nervous, distant, unwilling to meet his. She never missed a single drop-off, always punctual, never too soon, never too late. Occasionally, Ava would ask why her mom always looked like she'd been crying. Roman never gave her the full truth. He gave her comfort instead. Sometimes grown-ups feel sad when they've hurt someone they care about, he'd say softly. And sometimes they're still learning how to be better. He wouldn't turn Natalie into the villain, but he wasn't about to rewrite her as a hero either. One evening, as he handed Ava over, Natalie lingered. Can we talk? Her voice was careful, rehearsed. Roman studied her. About what? Her expression flickered between remorse and resistance. Us. There is no us, Natalie, he said, calm but firm. That ended the day you called betrayal therapy. Her face flinched like she'd been struck. I didn't mean for any of it. You didn't mean for it? Roman's jaw tensed. Do you know how many choices you had to make for it to happen? Every appointment you made. Every moment you stayed late, every time you undressed in his office. That wasn't an accident. I was lonely, she murmured. So was I, he snapped. But I stayed. I came home every night. I made dinner. I brought you flowers. I begged you to meet me halfway, and you walked the other direction. Her voice wavered. I've lost everything. You, the kids, my name. People look at me like I'm toxic. Roman exhaled, the fire in him long extinguished, replaced by something colder, unyielding. That's not my doing. That's just the truth staring back at you. She inched closer. Are you seeing anyone? The question no longer held weight. His mind drifted briefly to Eliza, the woman from the bookstore who'd asked what Ava liked to read. They'd had a few quiet conversations, shared a peaceful coffee. No fireworks. No pressure. Just calm. A gentle reprieve. No, he said truthfully, but for once, I'm ready for someone who knows that loyalty isn't negotiable. Tears rose in Natalie's eyes. So, that's it? That's peace, Roman replied, voice low. You chased comfort. I chased peace. We both found what we were looking for. She opened her mouth to reply, but no words came. Just the squeak of the car door and the sound of her departure, shoulders quaking with everything she couldn't undo. Roman didn't watch her leave. He turned toward the warm light of home. The porch bulb flicked on, soft and familiar. Inside, Ava and Parker waited, decked in paper crowns, popcorn bowls in hand. As he stepped in, Parker leapt into his arms. Daddy! Ava says you cheated at Uno. Roman chuckled, a real full laugh, and pressed a kiss to his son's forehead. Next time I'll be sneakier. That night, the three of them huddled beneath a mountain of blankets. Outside, the wind stirred the trees into slow spirals. Inside, Roman wasn't at peace because the storm had passed, but because he'd learned how to stand steady in the middle of it. And for the first time in what felt like forever, he didn't feel like something inside him was missing. He felt whole.